AJ.
Welcome to a special edition of our podcast highlighting remarkable Filipino leaders making waves on LinkedIn. I'm your host, AJ Diocareza, and joining me today are two distinguished guests at the forefront of leadership development and inspiration. Founder and managing consultant, IMS Learning and Consulting, and Ms. Anda Goseco, ICFCCC of Coach Anda. Together, we are excited to delve into the world of Filipino leadership excellence and explore how these exceptional leaders are navigating through the challenges of these present times. Our first guest is Mr. Ian Santos. He's a sales director, also a general manager, and a sales and leadership consultant. Plus, he's also a keynote speaker.
Top 5 Filipinos to follow on LinkedIn for learning and inspiration.
And an ex-Colgate, Coca-Cola, and GSK.
Mundi Pharma.
And for the second guest, I would like to now call on my co-host. She is Joy Magallanes. Joy Magallanes?
Take it away.
Thank you, AJ, for the introduction. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me and Anda tonight.
All right, so I'm Joy Magallanes, and for our second guest, Coach Anda Goseco. She's global executive coach and team coach, top 3 best APAC coaches of 2021, coaching Fortune 500 leaders for 12 years plus, and enabling leaders and teams to level up and play a bigger game.
Okay, I guess we better start the questions. AJ, can you start doing that, please?
Okay. So we would like to ask Sir Ian, how can recognizing outstanding Filipino leaders on LinkedIn inspire and motivate others to emulate their leadership traits during difficult times, even simple times like these?
Thanks, AJ. By the way, you can just call me Ian. You can take out the sir. Not to answer your question, no, maybe I need to reflect back no, on why we started the top 30 leaders on LinkedIn. No, myself, Anda, and Virginia. No, we really wanted to put a spotlight on Filipino leaders who are active on LinkedIn. Kasi, di ba, usually when we go to LinkedIn, we see a lot of foreign leaders, businessmen or non-businessmen being sharing their thoughts, their experiences. But actually, if you think about it, there are a lot of Filipino leaders worth emulating with their characteristics, no, that leaders in the country can, use as an example, and also to inspire them to become better leaders. So that's really where it all started. It's really elevating Filipino leaders, specifically in LinkedIn as a platform.
Okay. You. So very important and very inspiring, no? In relation to that, Ian,
Also ask
what are the strategies and initiatives can we
AJ,
implement?
magka-cut lang ako. Ask muna natin si
Yes.
Coach Anda. Coach Anda, you might want to answer the question,
Yes.
the first question.
It's
Yeah.
Coach Anda pala.
Yeah, so what do you want me to answer?
The first one po, how can recognizing outstanding Filipino leaders on LinkedIn inspire and motivate others to emulate po the leadership, lalo ngayon sa panahon ngayon, in this day and age?
Yeah, so now I think we need a lot of inspiring leaders because the world we live in is very complex, right? And I think if you have the right leaders in place, people feel more grounded. They have someone that they can follow. And the word inspire is a big word as well. So it's a responsibility for me given to leaders. So leaders have to take care of that. And it's something that you need to think about as a leader. So how am I really positively inspiring the people around me, and how am I using the values I have as a leader? And I think when you're able to do that, and people are able to see that side of you, and that you're authentic in being able to show that as a leader, then others will be able to follow as well. So in the coaching I do, there's a lot on anchoring at this day and age, with a lot of complex things around us. So there needs to be also an anchor, that people are holding on to, not just with themselves, but also with the people around them, especially the leaders that are around us.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. So it's very important that we have a foundation, right, in which to stand on. Now, for both of you guys, I would like to ask, what strategies and initiatives can we implement to enhance and elevate leadership capabilities in the Philippines as a byproduct of the top 30 Filipino leaders on LinkedIn?
Well, I can
What
answer
other
that.
initiative? What other ano pa?
Yeah,
Other
I
initiatives?
think right now, because like what's very important is collaboration, right? So you could see a lot of that happening during the pandemic. So there's a lot of people who realize that we cannot stand alone, that we need each other, we need to leverage on each other's strengths. And that's what Ian and I have been also trying to do. And the top 30 leaders in LinkedIn have been very active and really spearheading the movement to come up with these leadership chats for people. And it's great because it really showcases who they are, what they can contribute, but it also inspires people to learn from them as well. So I think that's it, it's very important, and that's like one example of really collaboration using the top 30. But I think for other leaders out there, people need to do that more, because not just, not it's being able to think about it not just locally, but you can also reach so many people globally as well. So it's really, again, going back to what do I need as a leader, and what kind of resources are available to me. And for me, the biggest resource are the people that you're surrounded with. So surrounding yourself with the right people is important, and that makes you think about ways to collaborate with each other.
So Ian?
Yeah, siguro from my perspective, no, if you notice, no, I don't know if you notice, a lot of the inaugural top 30 leaders on LinkedIn are lifelong learners. Either they're speakers or trainers, no. And for me, one thing that I could say that's applicable in the present, not just during the pandemic, is the, principle and the focus on continuous learning, no. Some of the best leaders we've seen during the pandemic did not stop learning, adjusting, and being resilient. And that's the way you can become an effective leader no matter what the environment is. Are you a leader who's open to new learnings, being agile, new challenges, being positive at the same time? And are you also doing this with your team, with your people? Because at the end of the day, crisis and challenging times call for changes in the way people look at things, in the way people do things. And you could replicate the learnings from that particular time, even in the present time. We're in a period of growth, but in a period of growth, there's also different challenges, right? How are you gonna maximize growth? How are you gonna manage stress levels of people? How are you going to balance work and life, or integrate work and life? And that's by being resilient, by continuously learning how to innovate the way you do things, how you adjust in your leadership style, and making sure that the people are going along with you in one direction.
I wanna add something else, which I think is a very important trait of our top 30 leaders. Since you mentioned it, Ian, it's a lot about, you can see that they're genuinely givers, right? They really want to
Mhm.
share their talent. And it's coming really from not getting anything in return, but really wanting to help others. And I think that's a great trait of a leader, especially now, to be able to reach out to others, to just want to help, not ask for anything in return. And the more you do that, also the more you share what you have, then other people learn from that as well and become better.
So collaboration, being continuous learners, and also being generous, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now, before I call on Joy, I also forgot to mention another co-host of mine. Um, Jella is here. Jella Sebastian. Hello, Jella. So, Joy or Jella, would you like to ask the next questions?
Go ahead, Joy.
All right. So for both of you again, Coach and then Coach Ian. So as a leader, how can the community created by top Filipino leaders on LinkedIn support and empower its member in the journey towards becoming a better leader?
I can start and maybe Anda can also, add on. So one of the things is connected to what we said earlier. It's really about sharing their knowledge and learnings. Uh, in fact, if you see on on my screen it says leadership chats. No, we've already had two episodes where, and in the episodes, leaders from the top 30 inaugural top 30 awardees share their own personal experiences and journeys so that the listeners and leaders can learn from them and hopefully also inspire them to become better leaders.
I agree with Ian. It's the well, that's the same answer for me. I think that since they are really a community of people who want to give and to share, you could see actually that in the chats they were also in our leadership chats they were even giving freebies, right?
Yeah.
So they were even
Mm.
yeah, from their own companies. And this is not the end of the series of chats. There's more to come also during the year. And people are just raising their hand and volunteering and just wanting to help out. Initially when Ian and I met with them, that's what they really wanted. They were like, what can we do? What impact can we create? How can we really help? And I think those are really great signs and of a great leader, of a great leaders, because it's not about them. So being a leader, it's not about them. It's always about others. It's about the people who work with you, who are around you, and how to be able to help them. Yeah.
Thank you po, no? So, it's really true na parang sa members pa lang is natitrade na. Like, all your members is giving value pa rin talaga to the community as well. So, yeah. Jella, you can ask another question if you have.
Hi, Sir Ian and Ms. Anda. Can you share some examples of specific initiatives recognized by these leaders to inspire others and elevate their own leadership game? What are some of the examples?
I believe some of them, during the pandemic, for example, gave out free trainings, to help out the other people. Some of them actually donated out of their own pockets. So it's their generosity, going back to what Anda mentioned earlier, no? So it's really about giving first, no? As leaders, being selfless people, no? And I think that's the one thing that really struck me when we were looking at what initiatives were these people or leaders doing during a challenging time. And I think that helped build their credibility as well, going into now where we are in the present, which is a period of growth.
How
I agree
about you,
with you.
Miss Anda?
Yeah, so I agree with Ian. It's still those same traits. And you can see the free stuff that they're giving, to be able to help other people. Like that's really a good sign, because some people, like they charge. I mean, of course we charge, it's our own business, but to be able to do that, you can see that the genuineness of wanting to do that for others.
Thank you for they're showing their leadership skills in a way that they give freebies, and that's a lot for a well-known leaders. Okay, so Sir AJ, you want to ask the next question?
Let's go back to the Filipino leaders again on LinkedIn, no? So, what impact do you anticipate? Do you anticipate that these top leaders on LinkedIn, this initiative, no, would or what impact would or what impact has it
Entire country.
pala, has it created
Mhm.
on the entire country, and how can it be measured?
Well,
Ako one thing I noticed, no, over the last few months, no, and I'm comparing it personally to the period, the last 2 years during the pandemic. Nga. I've seen a lot more Filipino leaders, and these are big names in the in industry, no, be more active on LinkedIn, sharing their thoughts, sharing what they're doing, inspiring more people. And for me, I'm very happy because that was one of the objectives that we had, Anda, right? How do we inspire more Filipino leaders to really come out of the platform and share more and inspire more and motivate more? So I think that's a big impact. And I'm talking about taipans of industry, not just simple businessmen. You know, one of the top 10 richest Filipinos, for example. I won't mention the name, but just if you scroll down LinkedIn, you'll see them more active on the platform.
Yeah, and I agree with Ian. That's really our one of our main goals. And we were thinking there's so many social media channels, right? But then we really believed in LinkedIn, and we felt that it was just underutilized at that time. And I mean, a lot of people are already there, Filipinos, but there's just so much more inspirational Filipinos who could also post or share things, their thoughts and all that. So I agree with you, and I've seen a lot more. And actually just the nominations itself, when we started the nominations, just to be able to think about those leaders, I think it starts to really create that awareness already, right? So it makes you think like, who are the people who have these qualities, or who are the people that we know that has that. So it makes you think about that and reflect as a person nominating, or as a person who sees the post, or even the people who got the top 30. It makes you really also reflect on your own leadership as well. Yeah.
I love the words that you used, no? The characteristics, the qualities, the traits, because this is the next questions that we're going to be asking you both. So I would like to ask Joy or Jella. You would like to ask our coaches about the key traits and characteristics of these individuals on LinkedIn.
all right, I think I'll go first. So, Coach Ed, so what are the key traits and characteristics of Filipino leaders that contribute to creating great workplace during times of crisis?
So I let me know, Andy, if I miss one. But really,
Yeah.
just to before I mention the five key traits that we agreed on focusing on, let me just say that obviously the minimum leadership trait is that you have to be an effective and successful leader, right? So that's like a baseline basic.
Mhm.
But we focus on five key traits that we felt that was very important during the challenging time. So the leader had to be inspiring, so inspiration, resilience, courage, malasakit, which is a very Filipino term. So I think I forgot one more.
Integrity.
Integrity. Okay, so last but not least, because integrity is like the bedrock, right? Even if you have the four qualities, but if you don't have integrity as a leader, then you can't really say that you are a good leader or a great leader.
And when we came up with these top five qualities, we really had to tie it up with the pandemic at that time and resilience, because we wanted to kind of celebrate the leaders who were able to just go through that whole wave and lead teams. It wasn't that easy. I mean, me as a coach, I've listened to stories about how difficult it was also to be able to lead in a virtual world, right? And then, well, now we're going back to hybrid. So Ian, I, and Virginia really thought about what are the traits that you need to be able to be resilient during this time. Yeah. And it's nice because when we got the nominations, we got a lot of stories and examples on how leaders were able to do that. Very inspiring. We got a lot of nominations. I mean, of course, the ones we have now are 30, but how many nominations we have, Ian? That's many stories in leadership. I
If I'm
can't.
not mistaken, about 500. If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
500, right?
Wow.
So you can see like yeah, 500 different stories of leaders. Very, very, very interesting to read. So Ian and I, as we were reading that, we were also pretty inspired with their stories.
I have a question, Coach Anda and Ian. Are the traits, the 5 traits, are they still applicable in this age? Lalo ngayon that we're getting out of the pandemic, ano? And ano yung very strong na characteristic or traits na sa tingin ninyo the leader should have now that we're about to exit the pandemic?
Very interesting question because the other day, well, Ian and I were planning, I'm kind of preempting for the
Sorry.
yeah, for no, that's okay for the launch. We were also looking into that, and then it's there's we won't really say what the theme that we're
Yeah,
focusing
yeah, yeah.
drum roll, but that's so you're trying to think like what are leaders looking for now, what's important for them, what's relevant to them now. And so like given that there are some traits that I think that are really more important at this time, right? So for I don't know, for me, Ian, for me it's I think courage is a very important one. Courage to be able to um go through all these fast-paced things that are happening. I mean, I'm talking to leaders all the time and they're always saying like, "Oh, it's so fast. I have to accelerate growth. I can't even catch up, or I have no time for myself," and things like that. So, I think there has to be that courage and, really that agility also to be able to ride that wave of change, and the courage to be able to face all those challenges. Yeah. Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to connect to what Anda said. No, I'm not gonna choose courage, but I totally agree with Anda here. For me, I'm gonna add that integrity is more than ever very important, because you might have the courage to, again, pursue aggressive goals and targets, but if you do it the wrong way, then you cannot have a sustainable business, and you cannot have the moral credibility to continue as a leader. So I think you have to have integrity, especially during times of growth, because that's where a lot of, we've seen a lot of companies in other countries grow super fast and then die down super fast because there was lack of integrity of their leaders. So I think that's something that we need to watch out for as leaders.
Yeah. Just one more thing also I wanted to add to that. I think so thinking about our current values, I think malasakit is also important because you're leading teams. So you need to know where they are, what they need from you. And that takes a lot about going outside yourself and less focusing on yourself and then trying to understand the needs of other people around you.
Jella and Joy, you have questions? Go ahead.
So it's nice to know that our great leaders are already in the mainstream now. So can you share examples of how these Filipino leaders have demonstrated their integrity during those challenging times, and how it has positively impacted their organizations, like you said earlier?
I can share,
Examples.
I can share one specific example. One of our, uh, in fact, our top leader for integrity, Daisy.
Daisy.
Actually,
Yeah.
her actual the experience she shared was, even if uh, she was a leader who made sure that she did things right, meaning to say she paid the right taxes when she needs to. She got the right permits to run her business. So everything was above board, no matter if it were challenging or difficult time. So I think that's one of a basic example of how you should be leading an organization.
How about you, Miss Anda? Thank you for that, Sir Ian.
Yeah, actually, that's a story also that stood out for me because I was in the recent leadership chat also where she shared that. So I think it's very interesting to hear that because it makes also other readers kind of reflect and think about, am I am I able to practice that integrity in, in every day, every single day, in all my decisions and my actions. So it was a very interesting because I also attended the pre-discussion of integrity, and this is really, they were having fun, and and not just fun, but it was a very deep discussion on that, on how it's such a challenge to be able to practice that integrity also.
Joy?
Yes. Go ahead, Joy. Thank you for
I'm
that, Miss
sorry.
Anne.
Yeah. So in for our another question, in what ways have Filipino leaders shown malasakit? I'm sorry, the empathy and care towards their employee and stakeholders, and how has it influenced the overall work environment and results?
Well, we're gonna say something, Ian.
No, go
No.
ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So I was gonna say, just maybe for me in general, just reading the stories, I think the theme I was seeing also was people were really there for their teams and for their
Mhm.
employees. They were coming up with programs to be able to help them. It was very employee centric, right? And team centric. So I think that was very important to get their engagement also. And since we were talking about the pandemic, you could see the shift also to a more to creating a more caring environment where they were really focusing on how to engage others. Yeah.
Yeah, if I may add, connected to what Anda said, no, uh, among the good things I think that came out of the last 2 to 3 years is organizations and leaders have found out that it's possible to hit your numbers, your targets, even if you don't see your employees face to face every day. And I think that's part of malasakit and caring, making sure that people spend time with their families. Even up to this day, I know of many companies, including mine currently, who still do hybrid and not 100% work at the office. And I think that's has given a lot of people a more well balanced life, more time with the family, without necessarily sacrificing the business or organizational goals. So I think that's one of the great things that came out of this past 2 to 3 years.
When I have a question, when you were reading all the 500 entries or nominations, did you find, I know it was difficult, but how many did you see in terms of malasakit, and what were the stories? Siguro baka you can share with us two or three na you saw that it was important for the community, meaning the top 30 and the LinkedIn community as well. Can you share with us at least two or three stories?
I specifically remember, again, I'm going to refer to our top leader for Malasakit, Mariel Tablan, no? Because that's what's on top of my mind right now. I know for a fact that she did a lot of one-on-ones with her team, her people under her, because again, those were mentally challenging times for everyone, right? It's just a difference of degrees. So I know for a fact that she had a lot of one-on-ones, making sure her team was okay, whether they were within Manila or outside Manila, and that was very important for people to keep engaged and know that someone cared for them, and not just about the numbers they bring in.
Coach Anda.
Yeah, so that is the same story that also comes to mind because that stood out because of the coaching that people were doing because I think coaching right now, I mean, I do coaching, but for leaders to know how to coach their team also is a very important skill right now. And Marielle is also a coach, and she was able to practice that as a leader with her team, and she was able to coach them one on one, which I think is very important because that's where you really get to find out what's going on, what do they need from her to be able to support, because you can't also guess guess what people need, right? So it may be coming from your own perspective, but doing a one-on-one coaching conversation helps people understand, okay, it's not just from my perspective, but what do other people also need from me.
You have a question, AJ?
Yes. We know that we have many leaders, types of leaders, and many nationalities, many countries. But how can we define Filipino leaders, and how can we define courage that Filipino leaders exhibit in their decision-making actions during times of crisis, and how does it contribute to the resilience and success of their organizations? What differentiates them from other countries' Filipino leaders?
I would say very similar. There's very similar characteristics of courage, no, not just unique to Filipino leaders, but specifically I remember again our top leader for courage, no, who's the CEO of Alpha Mart, no, Harvey Ong. During those times, it was really tough to go out. Remember, everybody was stuck in our homes, but their organization, in fact, grew, opened more stores. He was setting an example by going out on field, and that was a different kind of courage for me. But because that's basically sort of going out with facing a life-threatening
Mm.
disease, but still making sure your people are okay, but making sure they see you in the front lines as their leader. It's like going to war with an invisible enemy, right? But that was to me and Anda in the panel of judges was a different kind of courage. That's why we recognize him for that.
So for me also, I'd like to highlight our culture as Filipinos. So sometimes it can be good, but in some situations it can be bad. So it's better to actually focus on what good can you make out of it. So we're a very relationship based country, right? We care for others. We're very warm. We really enjoy these face to face interactions with people. So I think Filipino leaders need to capitalize that also even more on the trait of caring for other people. And I think if you start caring for other people, there's more empathy that comes out. It's built, and relationships are so important right now to be able to build loyalty, to be able to get the group together, to motivate them. So I think that's a trait that Filipino leaders can use. But I'm not saying that other people from other countries don't have that. I'm just saying that um, in our country it just shows up often, right?
Thank you,
Wala?
Coach.
So go ahead, AJ.
Now, you've mentioned about DC earlier, right? About being an example of integrity. Can you also provide other examples of Filipino leaders naman who have become inspirations for their teams to perform positively at work? As a result, they became more engaged.
I can't think of a specific person, although I could always refer to our top leader for inspiration, Dean Pax Lapid. But not just him, but a lot of leaders in the list or in the nominations we got. No, I think, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me, one of the key, I would say, Filipino traits is always staying positive despite a negative situation, right?
Mm-mm.
Us being situated in the place in the globe where there's a lot of calamities, and just this morning there was an earthquake, right? But we seem to always have that, deep well of positivity, humor, despite whatever's happening. And I think that's one of the things that has continued to inspire people, having leaders who has that very optimistic outlook on life and business, always looking at what's at the light at the end of the tunnel, that everything shall pass. And that has helped inspire not just the organization, but I think the whole country as well. We need more of these types of leaders.
I agree with optimism because that also helps you create positive stories in your head, right? So I believe that it's what we tell ourselves every single day that help us look at situations differently. So if we're able to see challenges as opportunities, or if we're able to, um, see, um, yeah, difficult situations as growth areas, then that's a way to see more things positively. So I think it's very important to have that kind of positive mindset, especially as a leader.
For both of you guys, where do you find the source of optimism?
For us,
Yeah, if I may
oh,
ask.
that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, so we're human. So we're right, Ian. So Ian and I talk about also the ups and downs, the challenges we have. And for me, it's always maybe trying to see the good in everything. And like I said earlier also, it's about seeing challenges as opportunities to grow. Of course, easier said than done sometimes, and challenges can be frustrating. But I've always believed that when we are at the edge of our comfort zone and we are uncomfortable in a situation, um, sometimes we just have to stay there. And we need to ask ourselves, what are we learning from the situation? How is this helping me? And when we look back at the difficult challenges in our life, there's a lot of good things that came out of it. And if you're able to weave that together to the where you are today, everything is really all interconnected. And no regrets with everything that happened. So I think it's having that instead of having regrets and getting stuck in certain situations. So it's how you see different situations is important.
That was very nice, Anda, no? And I totally agree with that. I think for you to be optimistic, at least from my perspective, you also have to be sort of philosophical, right? As what Anda mentioned, no? You have to think of things as interconnected. No, some things may not make sense right now. You may find yourself in a place where you don't really want to be, or in a situation where you don't want to be, but years from now you might reflect back to this time and say, oh, that's why that happened, that's why I was there at that time. But also, one of the principles I personally believe in is, um, everything's temporary in this life. No, everything, like, we are in a temporal world, right? Having said that, no matter what the crisis is in our lives, it's gonna pass, and no matter what good times we're in, it's also gonna pass. So you have to just make the most of every single situation and moment in your life, and look at life as like a series of ups and downs. And that has helped me stay positive and optimistic, despite many challenges everybody has in their lives.
I have a question, no? When you were conceptualizing all of this, and then our situation wasn't really good during that time kasi nga pandemic, the motivation that you had was part of the anchor of whatever it is that we're doing. And now that we are here in this situation, how do you motivate your team That's one. Sorry, I have another question after that. How do you motivate your team right now? Kasi medyo maganda na yung situation natin. And how are you going to motivate the leaders? Because you are leaders, and then how will you motivate the leaders now, the top 30, and the kung sino man, or the LinkedIn community for that matter? Coach Ian or Coach Ann?
Maybe I can
Yeah.
start, and I'm sure Anda also has her, take on that. So I lead a sales organization, right? I've been in sales a lot, more than 3 decades. You probably can guess my age. And sales is such a career. It's like basically very connected to what I just mentioned earlier, a series of ups and downs. But um, it's challenging whether it's in a crisis environment, which is the last 2 years, 2 to 3 years, but it's also challenging even in good times. Anda mentioned that almost all companies are now on a growth phase, meaning to say targets keep, rising, challenges keep rising. So there's never an easy, time when you're in sales. For me, the way I motivate my team is, it's very important. May seem very basic, but it's recognizing them for a job well done, not necessarily financially, but talking to them and actually telling them, hey, thanks for all your effort this month. I really appreciate you as part of the team. Bringing them to a celebration dinner to celebrate the small victories. Just talking to them about things other than business. Talk to them as human beings. To take their minds off the stress for a while. I think that's very important to keep your team engaged and motivated.
Mm. Yeah, so good question. And for me, I think I'd like to answer it as before you can lead others, you have to be able to lead yourself. So you have to be very clear with who you are. And I've always believed in using the inner game and the outer game. So the outer game is really all the strategies and goals, but you have to be able to know yourself, know your limitations, your fears, your limiting beliefs, your strengths, all of that put together, and asking yourself really what you really want and what's your goal. And if you're able to do that, that becomes like your true north or your compass or your GPS to be able to know how to lead. So I think if that's very clear to you as a leader, then you can be an inspirational leader. Then you can even inspire yourself. So you have to be able to also, inspire yourself every single day, because not being a leader is not easy, right, Ian? So yeah, so you have to be able to find that. You have to be able to find that inspiration. And it really starts with at your core, what's important for you. And I think, when that's clear, that's the first step. The second step really is about your team, right? So question on how are you really leading your team, and a question also on how are you contributing to their growth or engagement, or how are you not contributing to that. I think the more difficult question is how are you not contributing to that. A lot of people approach me and ask me to build a high performing team, but it's interesting because I point it back to them. What are you not doing? So I think that's something that you need to ask constantly every day, and being aware of adjusting, right? Because the situation changes so fast. Like every month, every 2 months, it's a different landscape. So you have to be able to adapt, I think, to the landscape, and know what you need and what your people need. And if you're able to do that, then you're able to create more specific strategies for your team to engage them. And you're also able to create specific strategies and plans for yourself as well. So it's
Coach
really starting
Anda.
with clarity. Yeah.
I have another question. Pasensya na madami. How about, because you're in a team, in an organization, how about if you're a freelancer like us, like Geraldine, Joy, and I, and AJ, we are freelancers. So what do we do, or how do we motivate ourselves to become leaders like you in the future?
Mm. So you were asking about how you want to be a leader in the
Yeah,
future?
if we want to be a leader like you in the future.
Okay. Yeah, I'd go with what I also said earlier, right? So you first have to start with your goal, right? It has to be very clear to you. It goes also with your values, what you believe in, right? And if you really want to lead, I think it's about a lot of outward focus, right? And sometimes it's hard, no? Like, because if you start from an individual contributor level or by yourself, you're very used to focusing on things by yourself and on your own. But working with a team is very different and working with other people. So you have to be conscious about constantly conscious about how you're actually affecting people, right? So that doesn't it helps also if you read books on it, or there's a lot of videos, also podcasts on that, you know, so that there's a learning curve there also. And for me, it's a lot about experimenting, being also kind to yourself when you make mistakes, right? If you're going in the path. So I think I believe also in a lot of unlearning and relearning. So if you're able to do that, then you're able to really grow as a person and be that leader that you want to be.
Coach
Anda
Ian.
gave a lot of very good suggestions, no? So I'll just add one na lang. um, I don't know if Anda mentioned as well. I think she did in a way, no. If you have a goal, if you want to be a certain type of leader, because there are different types of leaders, right? Find someone who you emulate. Uh, Try to speak to that person, ask for tips. I'm pretty sure people who have become successful are willing to share their experiences, coach or even mentor, or even find other leaders, whether it's your friend, relative, or previous colleague. Try to find people who have gone ahead of you in the journey that you want to take, and don't try to reinvent the wheel all the time. Try to get the best practices, and hopefully you find a good coach or a mentor. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice answer. O ayan ha, bilang freelancers, alam na natin. Okay, so questions that you have, Joy, Geraldine, AJ, go ahead.
So I'll be asking a lot of questions because I really loved how you explained earlier that to for us freelancers to become a leader, we have so many things to learn and unlearn. So, being alone in the house as a freelancer, we tend to just recognize ourselves in a way that we do not have a team effort. Mhm. But this here in LinkedIn Local Philippines, I've learned how to reach out and also do the tasks with the teamwork. So this Miss Bless really gave me a lot of learnings through the episodes, through the previous episodes. So I enjoyed interviewing a lot of leaders like you who inspires me a lot, and it teaches me how I can envision also how to become a leader in the future in the future days to come. So I really appreciate the advices that you gave us, and really grow as a person, and through all the adversities that we may experience in the coming in the coming years. And really I really appreciate this type of leadership that I am so looking forward to. And hopefully Miss Joy can also discuss her own takeaways with this. Miss Joy, any takeaways also?
Yeah, so as a freelancer, I really like what Coach Anda, advice. Like be kind to yourself if you make mistake. So yeah, as a freelancer and as also like a home alone in the house. So if sometimes you make mistakes and there are times that you're going to be frustrated or like discouraged that you, like I made a mistake and I mean it just like feels like so hard sometimes na parang nakaka-discourage lang talaga siya. So as as a leader, it's really rin pala, no, na be kind to yourself if you make mistake. Kasi it's true, it's a learning curve eh. So, and also, siguro yung pinaka I'll do is yun nga, is yung parang do the unlearning and learn something new. So, ayun. And to Coach Ian naman, na the advice na find someone na may tawag dito, parang may inspire ka to be one. So, ayun po. Si Sir AJ, baka po may key takeaways.
Well, one of my key takeaways is the importance of making a decision to become a leader. It's also a choice. Leading is a choice. It's not something that you just inherit. We also have to decide. We have to choose to be something. I've been reading a material recently. I scanned it. It's about expertise versus leadership. What path will you be taking? So most people get stuck being an expert in life. They're experts, yes, but they're not leaders. So it's a choice that you have to make also. So based on what you've shared, your experiences, your learnings, I also saw how you made decisions, very important decisions, not only for yourself, but also for your team, to be able to distinguish yourself and to be identified, to be put on the limelight as
Sige. Bago po ako magbigay ng takeaway ko, I would like to ask last two questions. The first question would be, journey as on the day that you receive that you're gonna have, or you will be part of the top 100. The reason for which is I know Miss V will eventually watch this or probably watching this already. So during the time that she said, or it was announced that you're gonna be on the top 100, what was the feeling, and then what were the changes that happened po when you received that?
Well, when I received that, I was honored because, it's like you're part of the 100. But it was also like it felt like an accountability and responsibility to be in that role, right? So it made me think also of, why was I chosen for this? And it made me also celebrate my wins. I think as a leader, as a coach, sometimes you take it for granted, your journey. But I think in getting that, it just made me remember those things, and I really appreciate it. But it also challenged me also to kind of step up and think about, maybe there are other things I need to do. And because when you came up with the top 100, there was also like an article and stories about the different leaders. So hearing those, it makes you hear about or read about different perspectives or different stories of how people and leaders were able to create those changes. And I always believe in the power of groups or different perspectives. So those gave me different ways and ideas to just get myself to be better as a person, as a leader, and as a coach.
Coach Ian, your turn po.
First, I want to start by saying hello, hi V. I'm sure you're gonna watch this or are watching this now, so you're always at our hearts and minds. So look forward to the day when we see each other again, face to face. And V is not just the founder of the top 100. No, myself, Anda, and Virginia, you know, thought about the top 30 leaders on LinkedIn. So she's very much a part of whatever we're doing right now. A lot of the things Anda said, I feel the same. What I would remember quite with clarity is really first being honored to be part of the top 100. But immediately after that, I felt the pressure of the responsibility, as what Anda mentioned. No? I I now in a positive way, not in a negative way. So I felt the responsibility to be a better leader. Number one, share experiences that hopefully might inspire or motivate others. Be more active on LinkedIn, but in general, I guess try to be a better example of what a leader should be. So I think very similar to what Anna mentioned.
The last question that I have po is about the top 30. So now that you are community builders po, what are the plans, if you want to share it with us, or programs that you want to share with us if you do? So you have a volunteer community now that you're facing po. We are freelancers, but we're volunteering. So Joy, AJ, Geraldine, si Coach Ariel and Laylord, we're volunteers po for this one, for Miss V. So what is your ano po yung gusto ninyong gawin ngayon for the top 30? If you want to share it with us. Or yung kaya lang niyo po i-share. And then, ano po yung gusto ninyong ma-build with the top 30? Coach Anna or Coach Ian? Sino po yung gusto mo?
Yeah, well, I think the way we've started also this year was to get everyone's talents together and thinking of ways how they can contribute. So the leadership chats are, I mean, I like them. Actually, they were initiated by the leaders of the top 30. So it's nice that the community itself is the one that is initiating that, and they're the ones who are like leading it and putting it together. So it's wonderful to be able to see that it's coming out that way. Yeah, well, for me, like I see in the future like a lot of that. So a lot of just sharing ideas, thoughts, teachings, like the last one, no, Ian, like I think the one of the not the prize, it's like what the giveaway was the Six Sigma, right? So it was something that was going to be taught by one of the leaders. So like that. So it's being able to just find ways where people can just talk about their own their own journey, their talents, their experiences, to be able to help others. So because we really want, Ian and I wanted it to be like a platform where you can really inspire other people by and people can also look up, inspire and aspire. So people can also aspire to, I want to be that, and it helps. And I remember, Ian, we were talking about, we want to elevate leadership also. We want to challenge other leaders to be better, to do more, and through the stories also. So it's it's really that kind of a platform of stories, of experiences, and continuing it to be like that.
Yeah, I want to say, I also wanted to say that June this year is actually the first anniversary of our, when we announced the top 30 leaders on LinkedIn last year, no. So,
Right.
but
Yeah.
our plan is to launch the 2023 search sometime Q3, right? Without saying too much of details, so there's gonna be surprises and changes, positive changes, I think, no. Anda and I would like to sort of expand, no, and open it up to more new faces, new names, without necessarily saying what exactly we're gonna do. But Anda knows what I'm talking about. One of the things that's very, for me, no, very also inspiring about this first group is, in the leadership chats, basically they're the ones who pushed Anda and I to continue that discussion, no, on the top 30 leaders on LinkedIn. So in a way, it has already achieved one of our objectives, which is really to keep the conversation going, people to talk about leadership. I'm happy to see a lot of our inaugural batch getting awards left and right, which also validates Anda and I and the panel's choices in a way, right? But also, I'm hoping and we're hoping that they inspire others to be better as well. Number one, you just won't get awards if you're an ordinary leader or just one of the average leaders. So you must be doing something above and beyond, right? And it's not just about the awards, right? How are you impacting the organizations where you belong? Whether you're a business person or you're an employee or a leader in a company, right? How can you create more impact and influence as a leader? Uh, and the best way to do that is to, create impact and influence to the people who are closest to you, your own team, your own company, your own organization. And hopefully that spreads out, right? Not just on LinkedIn, but also outside LinkedIn. So um, God willing, this thing will continue this thing for many years to come. It's just our first season, so to speak, going into our second season, and we appreciate the offer to also help out Bless, spreading the news. So hopefully we'll start the nominations going sometime July, right? And within July, so you're gonna hear more from us, and we're so excited as well because it's been 1 year already.
Yeah.
So
And we started
um,
the planning already, so
yeah,
that's pretty
yeah.
exciting. Just
Happy
the other day.
birthday po pala.
Yeah, thank
Happy
you.
anniversary po pala.
Yeah, it's our anniversary, no? So thank you, Virginia, for everything that you helped and taught us and guided me and Anda on. And you're part of this. You're part of this.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, picking up from Virginia and being inspired by what Virginia started, because I think she was really able to elevate the the community, recognizing people as well. People were more talking about LinkedIn, and she was able to really do that. I remember in a few conversations with her, that's what she was saying that she was doing, and she did it for years. So Ian and I got inspired as well to do something similar.
Okay, I guess that's it for tonight. My key takeaways. Everything should start from ourselves. And then we expand and we share it to the people around us, the community, and probably around the world eventually. So that's it for tonight, everyone. Do you have any thing to say? Before we go pala, Coach Ada, where can we follow you for social media pages? And that was first for Ian.
Well, I post a lot in LinkedIn, and so you can find me there. And the Goseco. I also have a Facebook page, and that's Coach Anda. I have a website as well. That's www.coachanda.com. I do have a Spotify podcast, and the title of my podcast is Leading Great Workplaces,
Mhm.
and you can just search that in Spotify.
Coach Ian, your turn po.
So I do have a Facebook page and a LinkedIn page for myself and IMS Learning and Consulting, but I'm more active on LinkedIn, obviously. So I think you'll find me more on LinkedIn. I try to post at least once or twice a week, both work related and non-work related stuff. But I try to post about leadership and sales, as well as training and people development. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook. Yeah.
Team, you want to say something? AJ, Joy, Geraldine?
Thank you so much, Sir Ian and Coach Anda. Really appreciate your your insights and sharing with us your expertise on leadership, and hopefully we become one of the top leaders in the next coming years. Thank you. Go ahead.
AJ or Joy?
Thank you very much also for sharing your knowledge, expertise, and experience to us, and for sharing your lives to us. I believe that many more will benefit from this short learning session we had.
Joy?
Ayun po, thank you so much po ulit. This is actually my first time to host. So, ang dami ko pong natutunan, especially to be a leader. And I am inspired to be one hopefully. And, po, to learn more pa po sa inyo po. And to the other top 30 leaders on LinkedIn.
Okay, so that's it, everyone. Good night, and we will see you at the next podcast po. That will be tomorrow with Jonas Gadraka. So we're gonna see you, and hopefully you will see us pa in the next activities and podcast. So kung wala na pong sasabihin ng bawat isa sa amin, we're saying good night, and thank you everyone. Stay muna.